In Star Wars Rebels, we were introduced to a new prototype TIE fighter that was far superior to the standard TIE fighter in use by the Imperial fleet. Unlike the common TIE fighters seen across Star Wars media, TIE defenders had shields and hyperdrives, and they were deadly and far less disposable than the usual fleet. Grand Admiral Thrawn spent time lobbying the Empire to allocate resources to further develop the TIE defender program and put them in use for battlefield superiority. Unfortunately, Grand Moff Tarkin and Director Krennic worked to funnel every credit they could into developing the Death Star, putting all of their eggs into one basket. As the crew of the Ghost found out in Star Wars Rebels, TIE defenders were some of the most deadly ships the Empire ever fielded and spent so much time and effort to disrupt the production of the ships and thwart Grand Admiral Thrawn himself. And thanks to Tales of the Empire, we finally know who designed this lethal ship that could have changed the course of the Galactic Civil War. Morgan Elsbeth was first introduced into the Star Wars universe in the second season of The Mandalorian as the Magistrate of Corvus, a planet that she took control of later in the series. In that show, she fights against Ahsoka Tano, who is desperately seeking information on the whereabouts of Grand Admiral Thrawn, hoping to prevent his re-emergence in the galaxy, while also tracking down Ezra Bridger. In the Ahsoka series, we discovered that Elsbeth did not perish in her conflict with Ahsoka in their fight, and in fact, she was a witch of Dathomir with a past in that world. Now, the first episode of Tales of the Empire shows us her tragic past tied to the famous battle from the Clone Wars. After the defeat of the witches on Dathomir and her exile from the other clans on their planet, Morgan Elsbeth sets her sight on getting revenge on those who destroyed her life and her people. The second episode of Tales of the Empire, entitled Path of Anger, begins with Elsbeth giving a briefing on Coruscant about her proposed TIE Defender program, revealing that she herself designed the upgraded fighter for the Empire, connecting her inextricably to the story of Thrawn's origins, rather than just his re-emergence in Ahsoka. She specifically informs Captain Pellaeon of how she changed the engine manifold, as the interior twin-ion engines are inefficient when using that much power. Thrawn is a tactical genius, first introduced in the current canon Star Wars Rebels, alongside the underfunded and undernourished TIE Defender program, and although others in the Empire Inner Circle don't, he immediately sees the advantage of Elsbeth's designs. He recruits Morgan into his inner circle, making her an ally in the episode of Tales of the Empire. Thrawn's appearance, presaged by the cameo of Rook, his no-gray bodyguard, is the only time he appears in the Tales of the Empire series, but it's an important moment and shows us the beginning of how far ahead he thinks of his strategies. By recruiting Morgan Elsbeth, Thrawn ties the single episode of Tales of the Empire to Star Wars Rebels, as well as the Timothy Zahn novels that intertwine with that series, and The Mandalorian, and the Ahsoka series, offering a pivotal moment that impacts many different avenues of Star Wars storytelling. Looking at the incredible and deadly performances of the TIE Defender in Star Wars Rebels, Thrawn has a thorough understanding of what it could take to defeat the Rebel Alliance, and Morgan Elsbeth was the key to that. They just couldn't account for the will of the Force and the powers of Ezra Bridger and Ahsoka Tano. What did you think of Tales of the Empire? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for coverage of new Star Wars episodes as they release. And remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.